of January 5th. Ms. McKay, if you'd call the roll, please.
Ms. Williams.
Here.
Ms. Ramsey.
Here.
Mayor Pons.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Here.
Ms. Kernshire. Here.
Okay, leads us into item 3 on the agenda, which is items for City Council meeting of January 8th. Mr. Trivett, would you like to give us a preview?
Sure. So we've got Excellence in Service Award, and then under unfinished business, we've got the adoption of the taxes that the budget is predicated on. Under new business, we have a resolution that allows us to make a transfer of funds as a pass-through agency to Letitia's house. We have the emergency repair of the canopy at the Transportation Center, and finally, consideration for some grant awards under the Tourism Development Promotion Contingency Program. And then we'll also have closed session regarding the upcoming ARB appeal.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the city manager? Seeing none, we'll move into public comment period, which is an opportunity for anybody in the audience to come forward and speak to council. Before you sit down, guys, would you like to come forward? Please. Just give your name and address and keep your comments to about 5 minutes, and welcome.
Kaiser, 609 Richmond Road. I had a couple things to say. It went on and on and on, and so I tried to write it down because I'm a terrible speaker and I ramble. So, I've heard mention of a modern city here, and I'm not an urban planner. I'm a retired nurse practitioner, so I have no expertise. But I did spend some time over the last few weeks looking up some terminology and some theories and the latest in urban planning. And I recall from a few months ago there was discussion in one of the city meetings about the 15-minute city. That's already over a decade old, that whole theory. And I think that may be where some of the discussion came about regarding infill development and some other terms that seem to be, I think if you're in the urban planning field, that's the current lingo. What worries me the most is that for those of us who live in Williamsburg, we know this is unique. This is a living world museum. It's jam-packed with history. It also has a fairly transient population and a dwindling permanent population. I think if we really want to transform parts of Williamsburg, Virginia to a modern city, you actually have to toss all the trade lingo out the door and reevaluate what you have here. I think it's been a long time, maybe over 100 years since Williamsburg actually stood on its own feet. Initially, it was a government center in colonial times, and then the college came and became a very strong element here. And then, we were lucky enough to have the CW Restoration take off and make us into this incredible place. But tourism has fallen since I lived here in the 80s. It's pretty quiet sometimes. There's not a lot that's happening like there used to be. The current projections for student enrollment in the United States, it refers to the demographic cliff where sometime between now and 2030, 2040, there's just going to be this huge drop in kids who are freshmen enrolling in college and staying there for 4 years. There's going to be a projected fall in the number of day students and older people going back to school. And we know internationally, it's kind of dicey to decide to come to the United States to get your doctorate. You may not be able to finish it before you're deported or deprived of an ongoing student visa. So a lot of things that would potentially change the the college's perch right now, I think, over the city. A lot of things may be happening to shake that, so that what we may be left with is a Colonial Williamsburg that doesn't attract 1.5 million visitors a year, maybe not even 500,000, and a college that right now, sitting on top of this triad between itself and the city and CW, it may actually falter, which leaves Williamsburg all by itself. And what we might have to look at to make this a modern city is A, stay small. Stay small. West Virginia is the fastest growing state right now, and the reason listed is demographically, it's small town. So people aren't looking for mass urban high density. They want small town, the return of the small town. We're already there. If we keep edging in the direction that I consider the wrong direction, we're going to be everywhere, USA, instead of this one particular place. I know I've said this before, right? But I think we're right on the cusp here of change that follows some trend that shouldn't apply to us, or whether we think outside the box and stay Williamsburg. 0. Look at that, huh?
You're an expert. Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll move on to background presentations and discussions. And today we have a presentation from the Williamsburg Area Transit Authority, and we have Mr. Scalia with us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, Council, Happy New Year. Welcome back. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you and give you an update on Williamsburg Area Transit Authority, kind of where we are right now, and I think most importantly, where we're going in the next handful of years. You will see there before you a little brochure we gave out at the State of Transit event we had back in October alongside Suffolk Transit and HRT. And it shows a lot of the numbers here that I'll be going over, but our FY25 at a glance. Okay, and then also, and perhaps most importantly, there with you is a WADA challenge coin. All right, so there is a challenge, and I'll give explanations as to what the challenge is afterwards if necessary. All right, please enjoy, and I hope to see you with that out and about. So again, thank you for the opportunity. We are postured here. We have great potential to expand our services to the greater Williamsburg area to make it more useful, our service more useful and convenient to more people. I would like to acknowledge WADA's Director of Planning and Administration, Ben Goodall, there in the audience, who is there to keep me straight. Okay, for the agenda. I want to first talk WADA's FY25 numbers performance, and then discuss our strategic plan through 2030. Talk our customer experience improvements to include some of the city's efforts as well. And then our 2 major construction projects, give you an update on those. I do want to, though, end with where we are with some other initiatives and time for any questions or comments you may have. Okay, WADA by the numbers. The highlights here, if I may, first off is FY25, we finished with higher ridership than 2019. That, of course, being the pre-COVID benchmark, right? What's especially noteworthy is we did that yet still operating fewer hours than we did in 2019. More specifically, we didn't run as late as we did in 2019. So all that indicates there's still a need, desire for the service we provide. Okay. Our operator strength, we struggled for a while, as did many industries when COVID hit, right? In retaining, hiring and retaining people. In this past year, we have made great strides. We are now at actually over 100% in operators. My board has authorized me to hire at 110% strength for 2 reasons. One is because of the retention, okay? It takes a good month for us to get people on board, before they can get out there and operate for us, but also to grow the capacity we need to increase our service in the strategic plan, which I'll talk about in the next slide. We have 6 new buses on order with delivery this spring. They are 4 new compressed natural gas buses, as we're currently operating on Route 15 Colonial, and 2 new clean diesel buses. So looking forward to those arrival. We have a very, very old fleet, especially the CNGs. I think also worth noting, WADA has the lowest cost per hour in operating when compared to our regional partners, okay, HRT and GRTC in Richmond, all right? So I think we make good use of the money we receive, and that's based off a 2024 audit. Next is our strategic plan. Evolving WADA was approved by the WADA board a year and a half ago. It has 3 phases. Phase 1 to implement this year. We're not there yet, but my intention is we will be able to do so by the spring break period. Phase 1 includes all-day frequency, 30-minute frequency for really what we call the spine of our network, right? Route 1 down to Lee Hall and Route 2 Richmond Road. So we currently run 30-minute frequency only during the morning and afternoon peak hours. So excited, eager to go 30-minute all-day frequency, so it'll make it more convenient and reliable and less confusing for our passengers. We didn't have the operator's strength to implement it at the beginning of the fiscal year. All right, so when I spoke working with the counties and the city and the budget for FY26, it wasn't no sense in trying to budget it for starting in July. Didn't have the strength. In discussing with them, I put January as the mark on the wall for me to hire who we needed to implement phase 1. We have them there now, just working with the city and the counties to get the amended budget for FY26, and we're not talking a lot, to be able to implement late March. That coincides with spring break when we'll see the tourists coming up here. All right, and it's not just regular tourist year, right? Virginia 250, so we're expecting large numbers beginning that spring break period. So that's phase 1. Still confident we'll be able to initiate it on schedule FY26. Phase 2, looking to implement in FY28. That will go for increased frequency, all-day 30-minute frequency on Route 3, Merrimack Trail, and Route 7, Moortown Road. We'll also increase our only 90-minute and very inconvenient Route 11, Lackey, from 90-minute to 60-minute, and reroute it a bit, make it better connections with Route 1 and Route 3, and then reroute 3 a bit better. I'm sorry, Route 11 would also extend to the York County Courthouse. Okay, so then it can connect with Yorktown and its own trolley there. Okay. I will also note, if I may, back to to phase 1, separate from the strategic plan, but lining up with the time-wise, is our opening of the WADA North Transit Center, and more on that construction project. But because of that, a reminder, that is moving our transfers at the Walmart parking lot to our own dedicated transit center. That will require rerouting of those 4 routes, routes 2, 7, 9, and 4. All right, so that's in the works also for this summer. And lastly, phase 3, you heard earlier, the 15-minute city, as with your own strategic plan, and that is 15-minute frequency Route 12 in 2030. Mobile ticketing, now moving on to conveniences and for our passengers. We launched mobile ticketing, and I'm proud to say the first transit agency here in the Hampton Roads region to do so this time last year. And mobile ticketing allows customers not to have to pay there as they enter the bus, fumbling with change and dollar bills, not having to go to the WADA store, but on their phone. Get an account, start an account with our transit app, which we've been using for a number of years, and and just scan your phone as you get on board. It has shown great numbers. We had a peak of 15,000 ticket activations in June alone. Now, that said, because not everybody has a phone, not everybody has a credit card to link to an account, we have maintained all the other purchasing options. What's left to do for this? Again, for those who don't have maybe a credit card, but would like the convenience of using it on their phone and save some time, is getting this capability out with convenience stores. You know, your CVS's, Walgreens, 7-Elevens, where they can purchase tickets there, get the card, load them onto their phone, and still have that convenience. Okay? It's convenient for the passenger, it's convenient for the operators, and saves time on our routes. It also will allow for fare capping. What that means is I might purchase a day ticket. I don't have funds to purchase a monthly pass. But when I purchase so many daily tickets to reach that price of the monthly ticket, it just rolls over into a monthly pass. All right, so that will be certainly of great interest to our frequent users who just don't have the means to purchase that monthly pass. All right, in conjunction with the city, I will say thank you to the city for allocating in its budget, its capital budget, bus stop amenities. And I appreciate your efforts in really seeing the need to improve the bus stop experience and overall bus ride experience for our passengers. And more on this at the end, but I hear it frequently from community leaders and members and residents in the engagements I have. They want to see bus stops especially improve. So I know the city has 9 planned improvements. We're working with them on, because there's obviously a lot that goes into that. They are not cheap, but the 9 improvements include repositioning of a stop into Highland Park, up that hill. We were part of the meeting with the neighborhood and seemed to have the support of the neighborhood to have that bus stop in there. We are doing these improvements simultaneous with the counties and with some other larger scale and costly improvements we already had on our to-do list. The goal is a bench and a shelter where feasible and practical, okay? The land may not always allow it, okay, who owns the land, what's the grade, et cetera, and what would be the cost. But certainly, and working with the city team, helping to prioritize those, all right? And so the big takeaway here is I lack the staff to do this quickly. Leveraging the staff of the city and the counties makes this much faster progress. We will see this year alone 20 to 30 bus stop improvements, real noticeable improvements throughout our network. To our construction projects. I'll start with the much more expensive but less important to the population, to the community of our operations and maintenance facility. Some of you may know we are operating out of the old Penske maintenance facility, and it was never designed as a public transit facility. It worked, but it didn't necessarily work well. And as we're a growing agency, it certainly lacked a lot of the administrative space. And the worst was it lacked good dispatch space. So noisy and not the right amenities for our operators and staff. So I appreciate the support of the city and all the various funding revenues we've had and sources to make this project a reality. They started construction this summer, late spring, and looking at reopening of it in spring of 2027. We are currently operating there now. The maintenance is able to condense into a couple different bays, and we've got trailers off in the back part of the parking lot for the operations staff. Administrative staff is offsite in McClaw Circle. It's working. It's not ideal. Maybe only a couple miles away, but I feel like I'm 100 miles away. So we'll be happy to be under the same roof. The new building will have greater administrative space for us, a proper conference room I'm excited about, a proper operator break area and amenities, expanded maintenance bays, and a new bus wash facility. Moving to the Wada North Transit Center, and this is off of Moortown Road, Corner Lane, and Old Moortown. Again, dedicated space. If you've been up to the Walmart, between the Walmart and Lowe's, our passengers have no proper benches, no shade, no shelter. Our operators are dodging delivery trucks and forklifts. So this will be dedicated, proper space, indoor, outdoor waiting area, proper signage for the buses to catch, a proper break, public restrooms, and staff restrooms. So we're not having to run into the Walmart in the 3 minutes between runs. All right, so this is really, really a truly necessary facility, and that is on schedule to open this summer. As I mentioned before, it will require rerouting of 4 routes. There is a process involved in that. We will be setting that out for public comment. We already have an idea of what it may look like. I've had a lot of interest in, hey, can you put a stop here, run a route there? It's all on the table. Now we'll see what's actually feasible, but there will be opportunities for public comment as part of that process. And again, I'd like to highlight the staff has done a fantastic job to try to minimize the local funding required to make this happen. We've been able to use all sorts of various state and federal funding sources to catch it all. Okay, lastly, before I kind of run off onto some other initiatives we have, that QR code there is something I'm pretty proud of and grateful to the community for being able to implement. And I announced this at the groundbreaking of the transfer center last spring. Because of a generous donor and the assistance with the Williamsburg Community Foundation, there is now a dedicated Greater Williamsburg Transportation Assistance Fund. And the goals are twofold. One is to help nonprofits and the municipality social services in purchasing tickets for their clients, for those in need, so they don't have to take out from their own funds. And then the other is to help with bus stop amenity improvements. Okay, maybe it's a light for some of those very, very dark rural bus stops. Maybe it's a fold down seat. There's not space for a bench, or even the usage for a bench, but and a small shelter. Little improvements like that, not as expensive, but can be funded through this. Because as I mentioned before, I get many people asking, how can I help? So now I can direct them to this fund, and we will see the first grant from this fund awarded at the Community Foundation's Spring Grant Awards luncheon. All right, some other notable initiatives that we have going on. Virginia 250, we are in coordination with Visit Williamsburg, Virginia 250, and the Clone Williamsburg Foundation, Jamestown Yorktown Foundation. And of course, we all expect huge number of tourists coming here. So we will be announcing later in a couple weeks a bus art contest. We want to wrap 3 of our buses with local art, commemorating our 250th year of independence and Virginia's role in that. So we will, 3 different artists will win their art covering 3 of our buses, and we'll run that through the celebration. We are also looking at doing a seasonal route connecting the 3 points of the historic triangle. All right, dedicated route, no stops in between. Some of you may remember the route we used to have, almost 20 years ago, right, with the Jamestown anniversary. So Jamestown, Colonial Williamsburg, Yorktown, and back and forth. All right, so I believe we have the funding for that. Now, next step is working with the foundations, Visit Williamsburg and Virginia 250 on, okay, what do the details look like? How do we time this? When do we start it? Things of that nature. We received a grant and have just awarded a contract to conduct a zero emissions feasibility study. So I want to know, what will it cost if we go zero emissions across the board, so I can bring that to my board for potential further action. I will say, when I mentioned our purchase of new buses, our 4 CNGs, to include 4 CNGs, it is good technology we already have. We essentially inherited from Colonial Williamsburg. And so with that infrastructure we already have, rather than continue to replace diesel, I'm happy to do so, replace more of these, and our oldest buses are the CNGs, and then be able to push them out into the city and the counties instead of just Route 15 Colonial where they are now. And lastly, we are doing a regional fare pass study with HRT and Suffolk Transit. There's another private study. How can we make it easy for people to transition our services, between buses, instead of having to purchase new tickets when they hop off at Lee Hall? So that's ongoing study, and optimistic of a good result there. In closing, I'd like to say, and as it's mentioned on the a little handout there for you, I believe WADA Public Transit is worth the investment. We are a 5-to-1 return on investment. The potential we have here is great. We need to be more convenient. Our ridership, though we're pre-pandemic now, really to get the choice riders, we need increased frequency. We need to be more convenient. Okay, we're a good service. We're reliable. Now we just need to be more convenient. Okay, so that is what our strategic plan is all focused on. So pending your questions, or I look forward to your questions. Thank you for your time.
Well, Mr. Scalia, thank you for the presentation. It is very impressive. It seems to me that you're covering everything from the consumer aspect of it to the funding aspect of it, and using technology, and you've got everything kind of in the works. And so I applaud you and your team. Ben, thanks for being here. On making sure that WADA is as efficient and effective as possible, because as you point out, ridership is important, and reason the 3 municipalities and foundation, we all got involved in this, was to provide public transportation that was affordable and convenient for people that didn't have other transportation available to them. And now that you're back over 1.5 million in riders, it seems like people are finding value in that, and I would like to see that increase. And as you point out again, the 15-minute frequency is important, because nobody wants to stand at a stop for half an hour or 90 minutes. But with that comes additional cost. Those additional costs usually come from taxpayers, and so there's got to be some accountability, and I think you are providing that, so I appreciate that. One of the questions I have when we talk about using smartphones, and I recognize not everybody does, the challenge of getting money on there. You had mentioned that having a credit card attached to it, is there other ways to fund that? I know you mentioned cards that you could purchase at various stops. Can you load your balance into your account with a Venmo account, those types of things?
Oh boy, that's a good question, and I defer to my subject matter expert. I'm not aware of it. Ben, can they do it Venmo with the transit app?
Just if you don't mind coming up to the microphone there.
Thank you all. And so I think there were some regulations we had to abide by that prevented some of the Apple Pay, Google Pay, those types of features that we have. So really, as Mr. Scalia mentioned, the Income Network, which is that convenience store policy where people can walk in with cash, that is really the best way right now, aside from attaching that credit card. I will say, in order to purchase the tickets, you don't actually have to create an account right now. So it will not save the credit card information if you don't want it to. That was one of the things that we were very careful of setting it up originally. But that is probably the best way right now for those that don't want to take that route.
Gotcha. So if you're not taking that route, you're not using the app technology, right?
You're still using it, just really on a cash basis instead of having that credit card attachment.
Take your cash to buy the card, and then you would upload the card onto the app so that you could use the phone.
Yes, sir.
SkySync.
Yeah,
Well, good. I appreciate you coming forward.
of course.
Well,
If I can add one piece of that, we had a similar question with our advisory committee. It's made up of citizens and residents, and can we use Google Pay? And so we're trying to work with with our app and a mobile ticketing provider. How might we be able to do that? Again, be more convenient.
Apparently, I'm the only one without Venmo these days. So. No? We're old school, I guess. Well, and so, again, thank you very much. I applaud you again. Another thing, if your costs are lower than our partners down on the south side, I think
And our
that's,
fares are less too.
okay. Well, so, it says a lot. And so hopefully they'll heed, maybe come to you for some advice. And
So, Mr. Mayor, if one more thing with respect to that, right? I'm sensitive to asking for more and more, right? So everybody's got a budget, and this is not a feast period right now, right? Recognize that. With increased ridership brings increased federal dollars. Okay. Now there's a 2-year lag for that. So when we ask, and there's a way we can increase service and use some state grants to try to level that bump until the federal dollars kick in. We had Wilman Mary Business School Group, the corporate field consultancy class, do a study for us this year. Now, they haven't presented to my board yet, but they will do so later this month. So I'm getting out a bit ahead of my board here, but I think they'll be excited to hear it. There's a real opportunity here to rapidly increase ridership, not just through the increased bus frequency, but perhaps even going fare-free. And before I come asking for you to have more money to make up that difference, the solution might be a private-public venture, okay? For me to work with the businesses to help fill that hole, maybe through, a fund as shown up there, where if they can cover the cost of fare revenue that I would be losing otherwise, and then we really see, boy, not only are the buses running more frequently, but they're easy to ride. Take out that fear of fumbling with $1 if you've never ridden a public bus before. So we have some real opportunities. It requires a lot of me getting out there and showing the value. But I think it's worthwhile and it's doable, very doable.
look forward to seeing how that turns out. Mr. Vice Mayor, any questions or thoughts?
No, I have no questions, just a couple of thoughts. Thank you for the presentation, the update. I think early on in your presentation, your ridership numbers indicated how important WADA is to, not just to the city of Williamsburg, but the greater Williamsburg community, and really appreciate that you're addressing the issues that I hear the most, and that's the route timing and the shelters. And I know I often travel, it's not in the city, but I travel up and down 60, and I feel for those people standing out in the inclement weather waiting for a bus. But one question did pop into my mind with the phone system, and you say you still utilize all the other systems, and I know many of the people, the riders are, that's their mode of transportation daily, but how do you address someone who experiences the bus for the first time and they're not prepared, they're not ticketed, and they're not prepared to pay? How is that addressed in the system?
So if you're a new rider and getting on the bus and not sure what to do, first off, I will brag about the operators. They are, I took my mother-in-law on the bus once. She's like, Matt, show me how to ride the bus. I'm like, all right, I'll stumble through my first time on the bus. And unplanned, unscripted, but there was the operator helping her out, Here, yep. And if the dollar bill doesn't go through, don't worry, I'll take the dollar bill, I'll print off the ticket for you. All the operators, I mean, that's part of their training, right? And as you'll see on the challenge coin, one of our values is friendly service. So they are there to help, okay? And I've given them the guidance too, that listen, if somebody's not prepared, give them the ride. Give them the ride to the transportation center where they can go to the WADA store and get a ticket. Okay, we want to make it easy. We don't want to discourage anybody the first time being unfamiliar or nervous about how to use public transit.
Good. And I know, appreciate all the work that you and your staff do, and I know they're looking forward to the new facilities to bring everyone back together and operate more effectively and efficiently. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Right, thank you. There's so much good stuff here, and public transit is so essential to the community. So thank you and the operators and everyone on your team to do such a fantastic job with this critical piece of infrastructure, really. And I do have a couple questions, and I don't know if this is even going to be a sensible question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have ballpark percentages or numbers or data of any sort about who rides public transit, in the sense that it could be people going to work, right, or people running errands, tourists, for example. Do you have a sense of that?
So we do, and that would have been part of our, the survey we did related to at the outset of our strategic plan work. So offhand, I couldn't tell you, but I can get that back to you.
Yeah, so the reason that I ask is because we think about, I'm glad to hear that you thought about it, the strategic plan, because it's like, who are we serving? What do people want from this? And you can think that different groups have different needs, whether somebody needs to get to the doctor's office versus somebody who has to get to work every day at the same time, versus tourists who come in and say, I don't even know where I am, like, I want to go to Jamestown. So I was just curious, when we think about a regional system and we think about the interconnectedness of our community, just wanting to get a sense of that. So that was one thing I was wondering. And you mentioned it a little bit at the end, and also along with the concept of we're back at pre-pandemic numbers, but wanting to, increase and keep moving. So when you say, I think you might have said choice riders, I'm not sure if that's what you said, but are we then striving for people who don't have to take the bus because they have other ways of getting around, but they're going to choose to take public transit because it's convenient, because it's easy to do, and that has, I would imagine, a positive impact for our community in terms of environmental resources, less traffic congestion perhaps. So is that sort of where the eyes go in the future, is, okay, we've got the folks who need us, and now we are looking for the people who want us?
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely. It's, again, if you need us, you're going to wait an hour for the bus, okay? If you don't need us, you're not waiting. You're going to, another example I like to use, you're going to beg your mom or dad to give you a ride to the movies or whatever, right? With a half-hour frequency, that parent can say, I'm not schlepping you around, you can take the bus, okay? So, yes, absolutely the choice riders. And in that example with, the child or the student, we're working with the school district to, can we go, and my board has approved me to go fare-free for students. Okay, we already have reduced fare for them. Well, why not fare-free? HRT does it. I think we can do the same thing. But then it's promoting that with the parents, getting them as the influencers, and that it's safe, it's reliable. Let your kid ride this. Make your life easier.
Great, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I think those of us who've been around for a few years and remember when you first came to WADA, it was sort of like this, and now it's like this. So really appreciate all of the changes that have been now put in place and are in progress to really make significant changes for the community. And to sort of follow up on a couple other questions, you mentioned that federal funding is based on ridership. So is your fiscal year the same as like our fiscal year, or is it tied to, it's not tied to the federal government's
Correct.
fiscal?
It is state fiscal year.
Okay.
And so ridership is one of the factors. It's so it's not just ridership
Right,
alone.
but it's one of the factors. And so I believe on, what is it, Route 15 that goes through Colonial Williamsburg?
Right.
I would think that's a pretty well-traveled route.
Very
with
well-traveled route.
with all of the tourists, and I think William and Mary students probably use that too. And I don't believe they buy a ticket for the CW route.
Correct.
So do you keep track, though, of everyone coming in just to know what the ridership is, whether it's paid or not?
So we have ridership numbers for each of our routes, so Route 15, and in fact, when I present to my board every month, show ridership numbers, and the 1.5 million is very skewed because of Route 15 numbers are almost half of our total ridership. So we know that we kind of keep that separate, and that is also the route that's most affected, obviously, by tourism, right? You know, weather and things of that nature. So it's important that we kind of show that separately. And the other routes, though, we are able to tell ridership of students in particular because, well, of course, Route 8 through the campus, but then also as the students and faculty are part of our annual agreement with William and Mary, we have that count as well of how many of their
okay.
students and faculty are riding the bus.
So I'm glad that you're using the app, and hopefully as people get more familiar with it, it'll be a little easier. I remember when I was in New York and tried to get on the bus, I didn't know how to use their app, whether I had to buy a ticket in advance or not, and we waited for, I think, 2 buses to go by before we finally, took a chance to get on it. So just getting people comfortable with it is a key factor. And I also appreciate what you were saying about choice ridership because I like to walk, but sometimes I don't like to walk as far. And so if there was a convenient bus, I might walk part of the way and then hop on the bus for the rest of the journey as opposed to taking the car the whole route.
Right.
So I know Denver has a trolley that goes up and down that main drag, and it's you hop on, hop off, and it's just very convenient, and a lot of people use it, whether they be residents or visitors. So
I hear a lot of people asking me, why can't we be like Alexandria? Dash. Hop on, hop off, very, very frequent apples and oranges, in a sense. Very, very condensed area, more populous, but we can certainly get closer.
Right. I think that you're making strides in that direction. It's been said before, public transit's very important, and particularly the attention to the bus stops. I think we all feel for customers who are waiting without shelter and a place to sit. So I'm glad for the Community Foundations Fund and the other funds that they're working on to assist with mobility as well.
Thank you. And again, thank you to the city.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Williams?
I wanted to just thank you for the presentations today and also just applaud you and your team with the dedicated approach, especially when we think of incorporating the community and all the different sectors of the community that you service as well. I really enjoyed hearing about just the plans with the 250th, also learning more about the fund, and also just the commitment to incorporating public input, especially when you look at expansion as well. So thank you for all of the information today. I did have a question concerning the planned bus stop improvements. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to know just more about like the rollout of those. I know that you mentioned there are 9 improvements scheduled. Which improvements get priority, and just kind of what does that process look like?
So these are 9 from the city alone, and city staff is prioritizing those with input from us, and that's where we can come in and say, here are the ridership numbers for each of the stop, right? And their staff, their horsepower is able to provide, okay, who owns the property? Does it, in the city right away, but it requires an easement, things of that nature. So it's, again, that working together is really key on that. But as we're working with each of the municipalities for improvements, we can provide information, but want their input on prioritization.
Sounds good. I remember, first coming to Williamsburg, to the university and hopping on, the bus to get to the grocery store, go to other places, my freshman year. So just thank you again for just your continued commitment.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Mr. Scalia, thank you.
Thank you very much.
The service and especially thank you to the drivers and the staff that maintain the buses and make sure our residents get to where they need to go. So much appreciated.
Thank you. I'll pass that on. Thank you.
Okay, takes us now to city council communications. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to share, recently I had the opportunity, I know other council members visited other schools, but I had the opportunity to visit Lafayette High School with two of our school board members, along with Delegate Anderson, and they're doing a lot of great things at Lafayette, but one of the things that stood out is we had the opportunity to visit a program that Coach Andy Lynn started, bringing in business leaders and community leaders to talk to. It started out as athletes because he's the football coach, but talk to those kids about how they reached their goals where they were in the community or in a business. And it's really been making an impact to a point that they've expanded it beyond the athletes. So just something, what really stood out to me is you have a teacher, a coach who is going beyond expectations to try to guide students in the right direction. So it was pretty impressive to just view a small portion of that.
Appreciate you sharing that. Okay, on the packet, it's available online, and on the agenda, you'll see there's a schedule of meetings leading through January 27th, and hope anybody that's interested will take notice of those and attend if you'd like. Moving on to open forum again, which is another opportunity for anybody in the audience to come forward. Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the open forum. And Mr. Vice Mayor, do we have closed session today?
We do not.
Okay. Then leads us now to adjournment.
And I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
McKay, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
Mayor Pons.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Kernshire.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. We're adjourned.